Have you tried watercolouring with your reinkers? Well, today in this video I'm showing you how easy it is to do. I'm Verity and welcome to my YouTube channel and blog Pretty Little Button, where I make paper crafting tutorials for the everyday crafter. So as I said, I'm going to show you a technique of how to watercolour with your reinkers. This is a great way to stretch your stash and also get the look of watercolours without the need of watercolour paints. I'm also featuring the new release from Catherine Pooler's Designs, this Christmas collection. Of course, you can create a card using this technique with any stamp you have in your stash, so you can get creating straight away. So without further ado, let's get started. So as I mentioned, I'm featuring some new products from Catherine Pooler's Christmas release called This Christmas. And I have some of the stamps and dies from the Classy Christmas bundle. When I saw this bundle, it really spoke to me because it really suits my modern style of card making, and I love to make modern style Christmas cards as well. There's two stamp sets here called, the first one is the Holiday Glimmer, which has the beautiful star stamp on, and I'm going to be using that today. Then we have the Adorning Dove stamp and coordinating dies, which are absolutely stunning. Stay tuned, keep an eye out on my blog and social media as I will be releasing some inspiration using those products. And then also there is the Round of Merry dies. Now they've done a selection of Round of dies, so this is the Merry one. It's got Merry Christmas written around the outside and then a lovely script Merry Christmas in the middle. So to use your reinkers in a watercolour style, we need to use cardstock that's appropriate. Therefore, you need to make sure you're using a heavyweight cardstock like watercolour cardstock, because it allows you to add plenty of liquid to it without it starting to peel. I'm using some Archer's hot press watercolour cardstock today, but you can use any watercolour cardstock you have in your stash. If you aren't going to be using watercolour cardstock, you may not get such good results, so just bear that in mind. Now I have a selection of reinkers here. I'm just going to freeze frame it here so you can get a close-up of the colours that I have selected. I have gone for a selection of blues and purples. These are all reinkers that match with the Catherine Pooler ink pad. Now these are great because you obviously need to refill your ink pad, so you're going to be buying these, but you can also use them for a faux watercolouring look. So I am taping a piece of watercolour cardstock down to a clipboard just to keep it in place to help reduce warping as well. Now I'm going for a slimline card because I want to use the star stamp that we saw earlier on, and I thought to create a long slimline panel with that stamp would look perfect. So once that has been taped down in place, we can then start adding some colour. Now I'm going to use an acrylic block just to squirt out a little bit of ink from each of my reinkers to use as a sort of a palette really. The first colour I'm going in with is Cummerbund, and I'm just squirting a little bit onto the acrylic block, and then I'm using a flat brush to add clean, clear water over the panel. I want to get this really nice and wet, and I'm wanting to do this because when you drop the colour in, the wet on wet technique allows that colour to blend and move on its own, so you aren't having to do too much work for it. So once I've done that, I'm using a round brush to add it rather than the flat brush because I want a much more softer organic look. Now, as with watercolours, you will always want to start with your lightest colour and build up to the darkest colour. If you did it the other way around, you will not have any space for the light colour to actually work and come through. With this though, I am going for a dark sky night, and I'm adding the light colours just to sort of add a bit of a underglaze and a little bit of a colour tone to the scene. But you won't notice some of these lightest colours as much once we've layered all the colours. So I dry in between adding colours and adding layers because I want to sort of preserve its integrity to some extent. The next colour I'm going in with is Serenade. This is a lovely, vibrant, soft purple. Beautiful colour, and I'm adding the purple tones in because I feel like in the winter you get more warmer tones to your night sky. So these are both the lightest colours that I have gone with. The next colour I'm then going in with, I am going to be using Cove Blue, which is in the Spa collection. So the first two colours were in the Party collection, so they're the vibrant colours. And I'm now going in with some more muted colours, which are from the Spa collection. and this is Cove Blue. And this is just going to start building up the layer of colours, the layer of intensity, and start adding a little bit more drama to the sky. To add a bit more purple, I'm then going in with Royal Treatment. So this is in the Spa collection as well. So this is a more muted sort of purple tone, and it works beautifully with the colours that we've already selected. Now, when I'm using my heat tool, I use it on setting 1 for this kind of project because I'm wanting to dry the paper. I'm not necessarily needing it to be so hot that it's going to be like melting embossing powder. The next colour I'm going in with is one of the darkest purples, and this is Queen for a Day, and I absolutely love this purple. This is where I start to build in that intensity, the drama to the actual colour and to the panel. Now, I'm not covering all of the areas, but you will see that I'll leave a few areas a little bit clearer, a little bit of the light colour peeping through. But I'm starting to build up that colour intensity. It does take a while, and this is what I love about this because you can really evolve the colours. The next colour I'm using is Suede Shoes. So this is the Party Collection Blue, and this is starting to add in that bluer colour, making it a bit more darker, but it's still giving some vibrancy, and you're still seeing some of the colours come through. It's not until I add the last colour where the real intensity forms on this panel. And you could leave it like this. I think this looks a beautiful colour, sort of sky, as it's starting to go a bit dusky, but it's not quite a night sky yet, which is what I was intending to go for. So this is where I use my darkest colour, which is Juniper Mist. That is the navy within the Bar collection. And this, I'm making sure that I'm adding it more around the edges and allowing it to fade out, but adding a little bit more diluted over the middle of the panel. Now, if you find that you're losing some of your colours, you can always go back in and add some of the other colours as well. And if you're unsure what it looks like, why not dry it in between as well, because that will give you an idea of what it looks like. So the best part of this is obviously when you remove the tape and you see the finished look. And I love how this turned out. I think this looks a beautiful sky. It would work really, really well for galaxies as well. And you can see those undertones coming through beneath the dark blue. So as I said, I plan to heat emboss using the Holiday Glimmer stamp set, which features in the classy bundle collection from Catherine Pooler. This has a beautiful swirl of stars, and I thought it would look beautiful heat embossed in gold on top of this panel. Because we have watercoloured this panel, it's really important to ensure that the panel is dry before you heat emboss. If it's not dry, your powder will stick to areas of the panel that you don't want it to. And I also sometimes like to prep my panel with some powder as well, anti-static powder, just to ensure that in case I haven't completely dried it, I will cover it with the powder and it will stop anything sticking. I'm using my Wow Clear Ultra Slow Drying Embossing ink to stamp that down, and then I'm covering this with my Wow Metallic Gold Rich Superfine Embossing Powder. I was using the Superfine because these are quite small stars and I want to maintain the integrity of their design. Of course, this is where it really comes to life, where you heat emboss, where you melt the embossing powder, and that turns from that powder to that beautiful metallic gold. And that gold really pops off this gorgeous watercolour night sky background we created. It does warp my cardstock a little bit, but I can easily fix that later by adhering that down with some foam tape to keep it straight. Now, I didn't think one swirl looked quite right, so I did heat emboss and stamp another swirl just to continue the stars on across the night sky. But to add a little bit more interest and variation, and to make it a little bit more wintry, I also decided to go in and add some white ink splatter. So for this, I'm just using some white ink spray here, and I'm just using a paintbrush to dip into the bottle and then tapping it against the back of my finger to add the splatter. Of course, any of the products I've used in today's video will be linked in the description box below. These are compensated affiliate links that don't cost you any extra if you shop through them. So once that was completely dry, I added a sentiment. This comes from the Holiday Glimmer stamp set, and I stamped this with both Royal Treatment and Juniper Mist to create a two-tone sentiment. Once I fussy cut that out, I just added it to the front. So I hope you enjoyed today's video and I hope you enjoyed the technique. I loved using my reinkers to watercolour with and really build up the colour from a light to a really dark, dramatic sky. Of course, you can use any stamp set you have in your craft stash to get crafting straight away. So I'd love it if you tag me on social media if you do this technique following this video. Also, let me know in the comments below, what did you think of this card? Would you go for as dark and dramatic as I did, or would you have kept it lighter? Remember, if you're new to my channel, why not think about subscribing? You can hit that bell icon and be notified when my next video is up. Until next time, happy crafting!